Palliative care is all about focusing on comfort. So a lot of it is relief from symptoms. Most specifically, pain is number one, but also anxiety, and then any other symptoms that the pet may be experiencing, whether it's nausea or decreased appetite, ways to support that. It really focuses on promoting the best quality of life in the remaining time that's available. In our line of work as hospice and palliative care veterinarians, we're mostly dealing with end-of-life issues, knowing that we've got a life-limiting disease, a terminal illness, or a disease that's really starting to progress, like we know that it's only going to get worse. And so trying to anticipate what may happen and work towards creating the best comfort plan at home. I started a practice that is a mobile practice, Creek Mobile Veterinary Services. And we travel to clients' homes to offer our services. And throughout COVID, we've continued to do that. Most needed is the in-home euthanasia, but we also offer quality of life consultations and hospice and palliative care. I think the biggest thing for me was my own experience with my own cat, Smokey. When he got sick, I chose to palliate him at one point. So I started with, like, quote unquote, the best medicine possible for him. And when I kind of exhausted that and my own resources were starting to dwindle, I realized I needed to move towards a philosophy of care that was more palliative, so that I can really encourage that bond between us and not break that bond, because I felt like such a caretaker, constantly giving him meds and he would run away from me. And so we really had to streamline what was most important and put everything into home. And we started to consider not following up with specific tests for him. It was one of the most difficult things that I ever experienced. I just felt like in the veterinary profession, we can do a lot more to help support clients who are going through similar feelings. The first thing would be is knowing whatever is going on with your pet, the symptoms, for example. So encourage reaching out to your veterinarian or partner with a hospice and palliative care veterinarian to review everything that's going on with your pet and get a better understanding of the prognosis. And that's where you're going to know whether or not you want to enter into palliative care or whether or not you want to make a decision to euthanize relatively soon, depending on what's going on in your personal circumstances, as well as with the pet. Preparing children, I think, starts first with the conversations with your veterinarian to help get a better understanding, so then you can relay that back to the family. And I do really encourage including the children in as much of the decision-making process as possible. So ultimately, the final decision is on the adults. And it's important for the children to know that they are not responsible for making that decision. But to be able to feel included in the decision-making process will go a long way to the healing that follows the loss of a pet and the grief journey. Discussing the discomfort, the pain, potentially suffering that's caused by the ailment that your pet is experiencing, and that they can no longer cope with those changes in their body. And so to prevent further undue suffering, we can make the decision to help them pass peacefully. The how would really be relayed back with your veterinarian. So talking to your vet as to how much or how little to discuss of that process. If it was in your control, those are great conversations to have. Where do you want those final shared moments to happen? Is house call available? Or are you looking at going into a clinic? A quality of life consultation with a veterinarian can play really well to helping in clarify these decisions, because it's not always clear cut, and for the most part it isn't. And so it really is a matter of looking at all aspects in the life of the pet, as well as your personal circumstances certainly weigh into that. And then the what. So talking about what is euthanasia, but also what can we do now? What can we do now that we know that the decision has been made? For example, writing a letter to your pet, telling about all of those positive and great experiences, and maybe things like what you will miss, or considering what should Smokey have with him when he goes. Those are ways to include children and help prepare them for the day of the euthanasia, as well as moving beyond the day of, because we know that the loss affects them well beyond that. One of the things that I really try and do with families when I arrive at the home is sit down and discuss with them, especially with the children, and focus on looking at the children to include them in the conversation, and ask them, what changes have you seen in your pet? And if you can get them talking about the things that they've seen that depart from their dogs or cats, normal behavior and normal things that they enjoy, they can start to get onto the same page of understanding that this is the best decision to make, because their pet is no longer enjoying life the way that they used to, or he's really skinny, he's lost a lot of weight, or he doesn't really have any energy, he just sleeps a lot. These are changes that can say the quality of life is really declined in your pet. So I think the first thing for children to understand is, what is death? That's where we say, death means that the body has stopped working and stopped moving. It won't start again. And the pet will no longer feel anything or experience any pain. And so during the process of euthanasia or death, we remind them that death itself is not painful. It is the disease that causes the pain, not dying. So it's the same thing with a natural passing. As much as it sounds maybe harsh to use the actual words die, death, dying, it is important to use those words with children so that they understand the finality of it all, and that it's clear to them. So you're not using euphemisms such as put to sleep, put down. If you know that your pet has a terminal illness or a progressive disease that's only going to get worse, maybe thinking about making a bucket list for your pet, all the things that you want to get in their life before its end, talking about the day with your family, asking questions like, what do you want? What is important to you? Drawing, writing, creating a scrapbook, going on a memorial walk. And so that would be either a walk that you have taken with your dog before, and remembering those times. It's very intentional, this walk. It's not just a walk, it's a walk to talk and reflect. Planting a tree. And then I learned a really neat one. It's called the helping hand exercise. And so you have your child look at their hand with the 5 fingers, and you ask them to share with you 5 adults that they feel safe with, and then name their fingers, that each adult name. And then you let them know Anytime that they are feeling sad or feeling upset, to look at their hand and look at the people in their life that they feel safe with, and they can take that hand and do whatever they want or need with that hand. So that's the helping hand exercise.